Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another live. Today we are going to read, at least try to read five articles. I'm being very wishful here. The first article that we'll read is Why Political Dynasties Are Here to Stay. So there are so many political dynasties in this country, right? The most famous one everybody knows, the Gandhi political dynasty. No, not Nitin. Scindia's is a political dynasty. Um, would you consider like Amit Shah's son being the president of BCCI as a dynasty? You can decide. But both son and father are, in the political arena at least. Like cricket is political. Let's sort of admit it, right? So we're going to read that. Then we're going to read about another article, which is about a Belgian Jesuit priest who shaped India's national science movement. Like, I always wonder, 1947 literacy of India was 13%, 6%, not more than 20%, definitely. So very few educated people. And yet, in the first decade of independence, we had ISRO, we had the IITs, we had the Indian Institute of Science. uh, so how was all of this happening, and when did this culture of science sort of start in India? And then we can also move on to like more complicated questions like why did this movement sort of taper off, right? Like India, there are no major scientific inventions that are happening in India right now, right? At least in the software arena, not much is happening. Like although Indian engineers are wanted all across the world, Indian doctors are wanted all across the world, Indian developers and coders are wanted all across the world. But are they really inventing something? Is something cutting edge coming out of India? Like, for example, Google, Apple, all of that has come out of the US. Uber has come out of Europe. A lot of scientific development is happening in China. Like, you see the vlogs recently, there are so many people who sort of go there and see like different robots, different software. China has DeepSeek, which is like their equivalent of Chat GPT. So why all of that is not happening in India? We will just discuss, or at least try to discuss that as well, why that is happening. Then we are gonna read about one of my favorite actors, or like an actor that I have grown to like after he passed away and after I watched his interviews, Kader Khan. So we're gonna read about a little bit about him, his story, and why his story is important. In terms of like the cinema crazy nation that is India. So we're gonna read about that. We then, if more time persists and if I'm still able to speak, we will then go and read a little bit about Piyush Pandey. Maybe we'll read that earlier in the whole order of things. So we will read about Piyush Pandey, his contribution to advertising, and what he has done, and why is his contribution important, and like what has he done, and what can we learn from what he has done, what he did in his career. So we're going to read about that, and then if more time permits, which I don't think it will, we will read about why India mein private schools are booming right now. Like, what is happening, and why are private schools booming? We will try to figure out like what is the fees of these private schools, what is like sort of the quality of these private schools. Who are the people who can afford these private schools? So we're gonna read about that as well. So yeah, let's just get right into the first article. Let me just quickly share my screen as if this is a Google Meet call. So here we go. Why political dynasties are here to stay, right? A recent investigation by the Indian Express. Again, today we are reading Indian Express. A recent investigation by the Indian Express revealed that more than 22% of India's nearly 5,300 legislators in parliament and state assemblies and councils have familial ties to current or former legislators. Why are dynasties so entrenched in Indian politics? So, what this essentially means is if there are 100 people who are in elected positions across the country at parliament level, state assembly level, or at council level, 22 of them have either have their bab, dada, mummy, chachi, who are current or former legislators. Again, very easy example of this is the Gandhi family. Like, they have been doing this for so long. So when we think of political dynasties, the first thing that we think of, and that is also hammered into our heads through a lot of political debates that happen, on in news channels, is that there is one political dynasty. But as you can see here, there are 22% of India's these many legislators who have, some or the other who is already in politics. So we'll try to understand why dynasties are so entrenched in Indian politics. I mean, dynasties are also sort of entrenched in Bollywood. Dynasties, there are doctors जिनके बच्चे doctors बनते हैं. There are public officers जिनके बच्चे public officers बनते हैं. But right now, our focus or attention will essentially be on politics. We will try to read about like the political dynasties. All right. On January 26th, 1950, with the adoption of the Constitution, India ended many millennia of monarchical rule to become a democratic republic. Interesting, right? India became a republic, monarchical rule, because British rule again was a monarchy. A queen in England, essentially ruled over the Indian subcontinent. Before that, there were again these monarchies with different kings who have ruled several parts of India. Some have ruled more parts of India, some have ruled less parts of India, but they were all kings. There was not it was not a democracy. Had there been, like, there might have been a democracy somewhere in small pockets, but never in considerable amount in a considerable space. So that was never there. That happened on January 26th, 1950. The constitution formally did away with regnal titles like Raja, Nawab, Nizam, and introduced new positions of authority: president, prime minister, member of parliament, etc., effectively open to any citizen of the country. So पहले जैसे होता था, राजा का बेटा राजा बनेगा, नवाब का बेटा नवाब बनेगा, निजाम का बेटा निजाम बनेगा. तो ये जो रेगनल टाइटल्स थे, जो राजा नवाबी टाइटल्स थे, ये हटा दिए हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने. And there were introduced new positions of authority. Now, the biggest guy in the country, in the nation state, was the president, prime minister, member of parliament, etc. These were the positions that were there. And who could become the president of India, prime minister of India? Well, in writing, anybody, effectively open to any citizen of the country. The Rajas of the past were now ordinary citizens, their princely states territory of the Indian Republic, and their dynasties a relic of the bygone past. Except not quite. The monarchs of the old became political dynasts of modern India, right? The monarchs of the old became political dynasts of uh, modern India. There's a hyperlink right there. We might read that also, but first let's just finish this one. Yeah, these monarchs, for like again, an example here comes to mind is the Sindhya family. So Sindhyas were Rajwadas, and then when India became a republic, now Jyotiraditya Sandhya's father Madhavrao Sindhya was, I think, in the Congress. So this is one example of that transition. The monarchs of the old became political dynasts of modern India, even as electoral politics gave birth to new dynasties. While often critiqued by parties across the political spectrum, dynasties today are the central feature of Indian politics, one that is unlikely to go away soon. Right. Okay. It's not likely to go away. Should it even go away is a question that we should ask. If you are watching the live, you please must comment or write something so I know that you're here. All right. Uh, a recent investigation by the Indian Express revealed that as of September 20th, at least 1174 of India's 5294 legislators in parliament and state assemblies, MPs, MLAs, and MLCs, have links to current or former legislators. This amounts to more than 22% of all legislators in the country. Among these, among these 1174 who belonged to 989 families, there are at least 337 of them from 149 families that have more than one member in parliament or the state legislators or both. So there are close to 337 legislators who are from some 150 families, 149 families, who have more than one member in parliament. So it's not just that, baap beti ki jodi hai. There is like the chacha involved, the mama involved, maybe the mother involved. So have more than one member. It's not just even like a single member who is there. uh, 23 families have more than two members in the legislatures. With nearly 19% of its legislators coming from political dynasties, the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party fares slightly better than the likes of Congress, 33%, or Samajwadi Party, almost 35%. So what is happening here? 19% of its legislators. So भारतीय जनता पार्टी के अगर 100 लेजिस्लेटर्स हैं, उसमें से 19 ऐसे हैं जो पॉलिटिकल डायनेस्टी से आते हैं, 19. कांग्रेस के 33 ह्यूज नंबर, अगेन 33%, one third of Congress MLAs come from different sorts of political dynasties. Congress is a fairly old party, right? So it's been there for more than 100 years now. समाजवादी पार्टी के 35% come from political dynasties. But individuals from established political families of other parties are increasingly securing tickets within the BJP, the data shows. What is now happening is individuals from established political families of other parties are increasingly securing tickets within the BJP. So the thought I think behind this is that now the BJP is fairly entrenched and secure, running, getting into their third term. So these established political parties right now feel that, bhai, if I align over to the BJP, then it's my chances of being in power increase. So that's why more and more people are now going to the BJP. Earlier, this space, I think, was held by Congress. So more and more people from established political families were joining the Congress. But right now, BJP ka heyday hai, so they are joining the BJP. Right. As the Express investigation read, sons and daughters of MLAs, MPs, ministers, and party chiefs all getting into the party, then getting a ticket to the legislature and the government in state after state, party after party, a trend that's sweeping in both scale and scope, right? So they're all getting in there, sons, daughters. So Supriya Sule, Sharad Pawar is also an example of like a political family, right? So sons and daughters of MLAs, MPs, ministers, all getting into the party, getting a ticket in state after state, party after party. That's the trend right now. Now, how dynasties came to rule, how these dynasties came to rule, what happened? So, this all began, of course, with the Congress, the party which has been around for so long. Uh, the shadow of the freedom struggle loomed large over the first three general elections. The shadow of the freedom struggle loomed large over the first three general elections. Imagine 1947 के बाद first general elections इंडिया में हुए 1951 में, फिर हुए I don't know 55 56 में, फिर 60 60 61 में. तो उन सब इलेक्शंस में a very important part of like the narrative was कि आज़ादी दिलाई, आज़ादी हुई, देश आज़ाद हुआ, ब्रिटिशर्स चले गए, अब हमारे ही लोग ऊपर हमें रूल कर रहे हैं और हमें गवर्न कर रहे हैं, राइट? So the shadow of the freedom struggle loomed large over the first three general elections. Many candidates had actively taken part in the movement to end British rule and, as such, were highly conscious of their conduct, often going out of their way to ensure that members of their family did not exploit political power. Okay. So the freedom struggle loomed large, and the positive effect of that was that many candidates had actively taken part in the movement. They were all very young people, right? These all Sardar, Nehru, the big guns, and also like the other small ones as well, had actively actively taken part in the movement to end British rule, and as such were highly conscious of their conduct. So they were role models. They were people who were ushering this nation state, who were ushering this area, geographical area, from one age to another. A British monarchical rule had ended in India, and there were heroes. There were people who had given lives, for the country, people who had stayed in jail for years for the country. And now they were conscious of their conduct because they had just gotten independence, and Azadi was like in the air at that point in time. So they were conscious of their conduct कि भाई हम ये कोशिश करेंगे that we will go out of our way to ensure that members of my family will not exploit their political power. हम चाहते हैं, it's like whenever a new thing starts, you just want to like take care of it. And India had taken birth at that time, and everybody was very idealistic. In soon there will poverty come हो जाएगी, education बढ़ जाएगी, industrialization हो जाएगा, हम लोग developing से develop बन जाएंगे, So all of this hopeful atmosphere था वहां पे. तो इन लोगों ने भी ये सोचा कि हम भी थोड़े आइडियलिस्टिक हमारा बिहेवियर रखें. The elections in 1952, 1957, and 1962 overwhelmingly favored the Congress because Congress was sort of like the biggest political party at that point in time, with big guns like Gandhi supporting them, Nehru, Sardar, Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, Abul Kalam Azad, all of these big guns, right? Uh, but as the party leadership aged, tensions emerged. Now, Sardar passed away in the 50s, right? Nehru became very ill and then passed away in 1964. Other people were also getting old at this point in time. 15 years, like, sort of go by. But as the party leadership aged, tensions emerged. Several stalwarts in Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru's cabinet, Ambedkar passed away in the 50s, 1956, I think, right after he converted to Buddhism. That same year, nearly some months later, I think he passed away. Several stalwarts in PM Jawaharlal Nehru's cabinet, seen as potential successors at the center and states, were sidelined through the Kamraj plan in 1963 while he lay on his deathbed. This was Nehru's strategy to clear the decks for his daughter Indira Gandhi. So it all starts with sort of Nehru, right? Nehru. What did Nehru do? According to this article written by Shyamlal Yadav, right? Uh, कि कामराज प्लान था 1963 में and Nehru's strategy was to clear the decks for his daughter Indira Gandhi. Nehru died in 1964 and after 2 years with the scrupulous Lal Bahadur Shastri at the helm, Indira soon assumed control of the party and the country in 1966. Thus began the Nehru-Gandhi family's consolidation over the Congress, the effects of which can be felt till date. Right? Nehru, Gandhi, again Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi. So all of them have like sort of been in politics, sort of properly have been in politics. Many of them have been prime ministers. Many of them have been prime ministers in waiting for so long. Yeah, so that happened. In 1969, the Congress, now what happened in 1969? The Congress split into a pro and anti-India of the many of the old guard who had taken part in the freedom struggle. But Indira's charisma and astute political management prevailed, and over time, and amid many subsequent splits, the faction loyal to her and the family consistently prevailed. So yeah, there was Congress I and Congress O. I don't know why this author is saying it was pro and anti-India faction. I understand that, but definitely there was Congress I, which was Congress Indira Gandhi, and Congress O, which was Congress Old. So that split had happened in 1969. Okay, and of course, Indira Gandhi with her charisma. Again, 1971 Bangladesh war happens, and so Indira Gandhi continues to prevail through whatever political maneuvers she makes at that point in time. Meanwhile, the Congress's party organization also gradually weakened. Party organization weakened. What does that even mean? Like many parties around the world which come to power on the back of a national movement, as the memories of the struggle became more distant, so did the values the movement stood for, right? Corruption and nepotism took root as a result. For several years, the roles of Congress president and prime minister were played by the same person, blurring the lines between party and the government and further entrenching those in power. Right. Okay. Who is this guy who's written this? Shamlal Yadav. I just need to check. I just need to check if this is a political person or like if he is like a member of the investigative team. Okay. Okay. He's a reporter. He's a reporter. Okay. Let's just move ahead. Oh no, no, that's okay. That's completely okay, Monica. I just saw. Anyway, so Shamlal Yadav is a reporter. So ठीक है. There was a slight political slant that I was feeling while I was reading this article. So I just background check के लिखा किसने है. If it's a reporter, then we'll take it, right? Yeah. In 1969, this was done यहाँ पे. Yeah. For Meanwhile, the Congress Party's organization also gradually weakened, like many parties around the world which come to power on the back of a national movement, As the memories of the struggle became more distant, so did the values that the movement stood for. Corruption and nepotism took root as a result. For several years, the roles of Congress president and prime minister were played by the same person. If Indira Gandhi is prime minister, then Indira Gandhi is the Congress president. Rajiv Gandhi is prime minister. I'm assuming he was also the Congress president, blurring the lines between party and the government and further entrenching those in power. All right. Soon, children and spouses of leaders began receiving preference over ordinary party workers. Even the three sons of Shastri were no exception. After Indira's assassination, her son Rajiv took oath as prime minister the very same day. The Nehru Gandhi family's dominance remained unchallenged. Those who rebelled broke off to form their own party. ठीक है, जो लोगों को लगा कि नहीं ये प्रॉब्लमैटिक है, नेहरू गांधी फैमिली टॉप पोजीशंस पर नहीं होनी चाहिए, उन्होंने रिबेल किया एंड दे ब्रोक ऑफ टू फॉर्म देयर ओन पार्टी. In the 1990s, as the Congress's dominance in Indian politics eroded, राइट, अब 1990s में क्या हो रहा है, अलग अलग पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज आ रही हैं, जेपी मूवमेंट हुआ है, राइट. कांग्रेस पहली बार 80s में मेरे ख्याल से ऐसा होता है, या 70s में मेरे ख्याल से, 80s में ऐसा होता है कि कांग्रेस पावर में नहीं है आफ्टर 30 years, राइट. बिहार में कर्पूरी सिंह ठाकुर वाज द लास्ट चीफ मिनिस्टर फ्रॉम कांग्रेस. वहां पे रीजनल पार्टीज आ रही हैं, लालू प्रसाद यादव की पॉलिटिक्स शुरू हो रही है, यूपी में मुलायम सिंह यादव की पॉलिटिक्स शुरू हो रही है, तमिलनाडु में द्रविड़ मुन्नेत्र कड़गम की पॉलिटिक्स शुरू हो रही है, राइट. सो डिफरेंट पार्ट्स, अब धीमे धीमे एवरीबडी इज गेटिंग एंट्रेंच्ड, एवरीबडी इज अंडरस्टैंडिंग Congress is no longer the only player out there, right? So in the 1990s, as the Congress's dominance in Indian politics eroded, the party was largely sustained by loyal political families that it once patronized. Right. It was sustained by political families that it had once patronized. ठीक है. Political scientist Gillis Vernier had written in the Indian Express in 2019, parties try to maximize their chances at winning seats by fielding candidates that tick most of the winnability boxes. The fact remains that locally, being a dynast remains by and large more an asset than a liability. तो जैसे ये कहने का मतलब ये है कि अगर मान लो मैं मैं बड़ौदा का हूँ, राइट. अब बड़ौदा के जो प्रिंसली स्टेट के राजा थे, अगर उनका कोई फैमिली मेंबर इलेक्शन में खड़ा हो रहा है, या कोई एक ऐसा इंसान खड़ा हो रहा है जिसको बैकिंग है वहां के जो फॉर्मर राजा थे उनकी, तो वो अभी भी एसेट है और वो लायबिलिटी नहीं है. अगर तुम्हें लोकल पॉलिटिकल डायनेस्ट की बैकिंग मिलती है या लोकल पॉलिटिकल डायनेस्ट खुद खड़ा होता है, तो ये पॉसिबल है कि वो पावर में आएंगे. No exceptions, those critical of Congress went same way. So here now I think we'll move on to कि हाँ कांग्रेस में तो ये हो रहा था, और जो कांग्रेस को क्रिटिसाइज कर रहे थे कि भाई तुम्हारी फैमिली में तो एक ही, तुम्हारी पार्टी में तो एक ही फैमिली है जो टॉप पे है और जो सारे डिसीजंस ले रही है, बट बाकी पार्टीज में भी सेम चीज हो रही थी. कैसे? we'll read about it. Amid a flux in the party, several Congress leaders defected around the 1967 elections, and most prominent was Chaudhry Charan Singh, who alleged, among other things, that Congress was indulging in dynastic politics. Charan Singh would lead a coalition government in Uttar Pradesh in 1967 and 1970 before having a short stint as prime minister in 1979. So Charan Singh would lead a coalition government. He defected, मतलब कांग्रेस से निकल गया, अपनी पार्टी बनाई या किसी और पार्टी को ज्वाइन किया, चीफ मिनिस्टर ऑफ उत्तर प्रदेश रहा और फिर प्राइम मिनिस्टर भी बना 1979 में. In the 1969 midterm polls in UP, less than 2 years after he left the Congress, Charan Singh's wife Gayatri Devi, fielded by his newly formed party Bharatiya Kranti Dal (BKD), became an MLA. अच्छा ठीक है, उसने एलेज किया था कि वहां पे डायनेस्टिक पॉलिटिक्स हो रही है. अब उसकी वाइफ को उसने फील्ड किया अपनी और एमएलए बनाने के लिए, और वो बन भी गई एमएलए. शी वुड लेटर सिट इन पार्लियामेंट. हिज सन अजीत सिंह एंड डॉटर ज्ञानवती टू वुड एंटर पॉलिटिक्स एंड बी इन हाई ऑफिस. The party is now being led by his grandson Jayant Chaudhary. Wonderful, right? This is one example of a political dynasty. This is a simple glimpse of how many a party in the country, even those who were critical of the Congress's dynasticism, mirrored its family-centric party control at the state level. In the 1970s, 80s, and the 90s, weakened regional satraps kept emerging. Weakened regional satraps. What are satraps? Let me just quickly see the meaning. Provincial governor. ठीक है, ठीक है, ठीक है. Provincial governor. All right. Where is it? Where was I? In the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, weakened regional satraps kept emerging. Leaders like Biju Patnaik in Odisha, who was till the last election the chief minister of Odisha. Charan Singh and Mulayam Singh Yadav in UP. Mulayam Singh Yadav's son Akhilesh Yadav is right now heading the Samajwadi Party. Lalu Prasad Yadav in Bihar, whose son Tejasvi Yadav is the CM face of the India Gathbandhan right now in Bihar. The Karunanidhi family, again, that family who is like a ruling party right now, DMK in Tamil Nadu. The N.T. Ramarao family in Andhra Pradesh. N.T. Ramarao, who was a film star, who then became the chief minister of undivided Andhra Pradesh. The Badals in Punjab, Akali Dal, that is also Sukhbir Singh Badal and his daughter. Devilal, Bansilal, and Bhajanlal clans in Haryana, and the Sheikh Abdullah clan in Jammu Kashmir, right? Sheikh Abdullah's son was Farooq Abdullah. Farooq Abdullah's son is Umar Abdullah. All three of them have been chief ministers of Jammu and Kashmir. And the Sheikh Abdullah clan in Jammu and Kashmir would all form parties that were and are tightly controlled by their families and kin. So these political parties who have enjoyed a lot of time in power have been controlled or have been governed or have been led by these families. Now, I'm not attaching a value judgment here. Is this right or wrong? We will come to that. In my personal opinion, it doesn't matter if your son or your daughter is also interested in politics, and because you are so entrenched and you are so entrenched in whichever field of expertise that you have, that you of course want your son to take the benefits of what you have created. Having said that, if the son or daughter or whoever relative of yours, if he or she is not performing right, if he or she is taking decisions that are harmful to the country, that's, for me, that is the only measure of whether a person should or should not be a leader. But other than that, what is also important is a political leader's son given preference over other meritorious candidates? Are there other candidates who can make sure that they can lead the party better than this candidate who is the political leader's son or daughter? That is something that we have to control of. But having said all of that, is political dynasty completely wrong? I don't think so. Is it completely right, or does it not have any faults? I don't think so either. So again, you have to. It's a case to case basis of what that political dynasty has done for the country. What that political dynasty, what were the mistakes that political dynasty made. So those are also several things that we have to think about. But taking aside the value judgment, अभी हमने देखा ही यहाँ पे कि बीजू पटनायक ओडिशा, चरण मुलायम सिंह यादव यूपी, लालू प्रसाद बिहार, करुणानिधि तमिलनाडु, रामाराव आंध्र प्रदेश, बादल्स पंजाब, Abdullah Kashmir, Bhajanlal, Bansilal, Devilal in Haryana. And they are controlling like big and important states of India, right? These political families. While these parties also provided opportunities for several first generation leaders from marginalized communities, most became फैमिली फीफडम्स. इन पार्टीज ने प्रोवाइड किया कि फर्स्ट जनरेशन लीडर्स भी आए इनकी पार्टी में, फ्रॉम मार्जिनलाइज्ड कम्युनिटीज. Like one example that comes to mind is Mallikarjun Kharge, but Mallikarjun Kharge's son Priyank Kharge again right now is in the Karnataka government. But we should read about Mallikarjun Kharge. We'll read about it some other time. While these parties also provided opportunities for several first generation leaders, पर मेनली कहने का मतलब है कि फैमिली फीफडम ही है. मतलब मैं चलाऊंगा, मेरा बेटा चलाएगा, मेरी फैमिली चलाएगी, मेरी वाइफ इलेक्शन में खड़ी होगी. फैमिली फीफडम तो है. Often, rival groups within a party floated to claim tickets so that dynasts can be brought in later as consensus candidates. What does this even mean? Rival groups within a party, often rival groups within a party are floated to claim tickets so that dynasts can be brought in later as consensus candidates. All right. For example, if Congress है, ठीक है, एक सीट है, तो rival groups करेंगे. This is a drama, I think they play. Okay, rival groups will say कि Shashi Tharoor and some other कांग्रेस कैंडिडेट, इन दोनों को लड़ाओ एक साथ. और फिर दोनों पार्टीज मानेंगे नहीं कि शशि थरूर बनना चाहिए या कपिल सिब्बल बनना चाहिए. लड़ेंगे 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 एंड देन दे विल से नहीं तुम लड़ो मत, एक काम करते हैं राहुल गांधी जो सबको अलाउ ठीक लगता है उसको बना देते हैं. So that sort of games are also played according to this article. Why does this page keep on refreshing? Yeah. While the rank and file and even the mid level leadership may be diverged, the top leadership remains in the hands of a chosen few. All right. Even the even the BJP and left parties, often seen as ideology and cadre driven, like ideology important है और cadre important है. Cadre मतलब ground level पे तुम्हारा काम कौन करता है, कौन है वो लास्ट पर्सन जो जब इलेक्शन हो रहे होते तो बूथ पे बैठता है, कौन है वो लास्ट पर्सन जो रैलीज अरेंज करता है, लोगों को इकट्ठा करता है, नारे लगाता है. तो ऐसा माना जाता है कि बीजेपी और लेफ्ट पार्टीज वो उन ग्राउंड वर्कर्स पे ज्यादा रिलाई करती है. बट even the BJP and the left parties have gone this way. A recent investigation by Indian Express found that left parties now have several second generation legislators from political families, while the BJP increasingly feels turncoat dynasts as well as young second generation leaders, often sidelining loyal cadre. लाइक कैडर हट जाता है. अगर पता है एमपी में सिंधिया जीतेगा तो सिंधिया को डालो, भले वो कांग्रेस में था उसके पहले. सो they have criticized the Congress for doing this for so long, and then they do it when they see an electoral benefit, happening there. That also happens. Now, question of winnability behind hold of dynasties. In his 2024 Independence Day speech, Prime Minister Narendra Modi promised to bring 1 lakh first generation youth into Indian politics. However, the question remains, what role will they play? If they are to simply strengthen party organizations, such workers already exist. If they aspire to contest in assembly and parliamentary elections, the challenge is significant. BJP sources indicate that ticket allocation prioritizes a candidate's winnability and resources over party's loyalty. सबको इलेक्शन जीतना है, कौन सा कैंडिडेट मुझे जिताएगा और किसके पास ज्यादा रिसोर्सेस हैं खर्च करने के लिए, उसको सिलेक्ट करते हैं. उसको सिलेक्ट नहीं करते जो पार्टी से बहुत ज्यादा लॉयल है. Over the years, elections have become increasingly expensive, meaning candidates with established networks, manpower, and financial backing, often from owning educational institutions, networks of cooperative societies, hospital chains, or private industries, have an edge. Of course, another we can go into another article. Like if you have 100 crore rupees with you, right, and you can afford to like do campaigns, if you can afford to print pamphlets, if you can afford to pay the thousands of people who will come to your rallies, if you can afford to pay for the many cars that you will use for these rallies, if you can pay your way into like getting into educational institutions, getting into public institutions, putting up your posters everywhere, getting permissions with different sorts of stuff, that all does not happen without money. And who spends that money? The one who has it. So if a political candidate is rich, then his chances of being able to participate successfully in an election becomes significantly higher than a candidate who might be perfect for the role, right? That is the candidate that you want representing your constituency. But just because he does not have a voice, just because he does not have the resources as compared to the other candidate, तो उसको उधर वहां प्रॉब्लम होती है. सो पैसा जिसके पास होता है, अनफॉर्चुनेटली ज्यादातर वो फील्ड होते हैं, राइट, बिकॉज again for all these reasons which I just explained, owning educational institutions, getting social media team ready. Nowadays there is so much of it is done by social media, right? So much of promotion of a candidate is done through social media. So who has the money to employ strategic social media people, who can spread the message far and wide? So all of that needs to be taken into account. Educational institutions, for instance, provide a ready campaigning team of teaching and non-teaching staff. If I own a university, I have a ready team. I own a university, I'm standing in an election, I can tell my faculty members, I can tell my profs, I can tell my school teachers to arrange events for me, to speak for me, to develop goodwill for me, to arrange events for me, do different sorts of collaborations for me, get relevant people ready for me. So all of these things can happen if you have money, right? uh, what this has done is create a cycle that has entrenched dynastic politics. Once a family amasses significant power and as a result wealth, it is better poised than a newcomer to win elections. And winning elections in turn allows the family to amass even more power and influence. मैंने इलेक्शन जीत लिया, अब मेरे पास रिसोर्सेज बढ़ जाएंगे, अगली बार मैं उन्हें रिसोर्सेज को यूज करके अगला इलेक्शन भी जीतूंगा, अगर मैंने अगला इलेक्शन भी जीत लिया तो मेरे पास और रिसोर्सेज आ जाएंगे. रिसोर्सेज मतलब कॉन्टैक्ट्स, पैसे, सोशल एंड पब्लिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस, ये सारी चीजें, राइट? The Constitution does not prohibit dynastic politics or family dominance within political parties, despite enshrining principles like democratic socialism and the fundamental right to equality. प्रोहिबिट नहीं करता है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, या तो ऐसा कोई मैकेनिज्म नहीं है जहां से एक लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड क्रिएट हो. But these principles are undermined when a handful of parivars hold so much sway over a country of more than a billion people. The Representation of the People Act, which governs elections and regulates political parties, lacks provisions to address this issue. As such, political parties integral to the political system enjoy significant autonomy. This has almost always led to the emergence of dynastic control. Wow, this was an interesting one. This was a very interesting article. I feel, again, value judgment to dynasty. Will I add? Maybe I think this is just a way of thinking. Like how exactly are you thinking at that point in time? All right, now we'll take a quick water. But yeah, it's an interesting read nonetheless. And then now we sort of understand also how difficult it is for an average person to get into politics, right? Like why so few people care. Imagine so many of us read so much, so many of us understand so much, so many of us have so many ideas of how our footpaths should be, how pollution should be controlled, how corruption can be reduced, how development can be more equitable, how the biodiversity should be preserved. So many of us have so many ideas. There is no dearth of scholars in this country. There is no dearth of public policy experts in this country. But why are these people not able to fight elections? Why are these people not in places where they have the power to do things, right? And why do we, the people who actually are in these positions, how, like, sometimes you wonder ना कि यार इतना इतना दिमाग वाला डिसीजन, मतलब इतना खराब डिसीजन इसने कैसे ले लिया. सो बिकॉज वहाँ पे एक्सपर्ट बैठा ही नहीं है, क्योंकि कोई एक डायनेस्टी से शायद वो कंट्रोल हो रहा है. सो इट इज अ प्रॉब्लम, एंड इट इज वेरी वेरी डिफिकल्ट to sort of get into politics also, for a lot of like these experts, these people who care deeply and passionately about the country. But just because they don't have enough political backing, they don't have enough social backing, influential wealth backing them up, and those are the reasons that it so happens that these people are sidelined, and the people we see in politics are people who are raging nonsense on news debates, who are raging nonsense in press conferences, who are taking decisions which take this country back, and who talk about things that don't really matter, who never let important, tangible, real issues that are there to ever get into like mainstream public conversation. That never happens. The game of power the game of power has become increasingly difficult over time. I feel you're right. Power is being controlled in nastier ways today than ever before. 100%. 100%. It's become so nasty and everybody wants to just grab it. The idea of getting power was to like govern, lead in a direction that's more sustainable, that's more like way which just treats which sort of treats everybody equally, right? That is not really happening now. That is not really happening now. It's happening in countries like big countries like the US, India. I don't think it's happening. It's happening now in very very small countries, like, and you have to look very closely to find who they are, right? All right. All right, next I want to read about Kader Khan. So we read a lot about public policy. We read a lot about like politics. Now just read a little bit about culture. So the next one that we are going to really read is this article on Kader. Uh, you're so right. You're so right. With social media and data and mobile, they literally have the hold of our brains. Every time you open your phone, you see one thing or the other. Even like without the phone, when you try walking outside and see political posters that you see everywhere, and the kind of conversation that goes on these days, it's insane. And like if you fall into the trap of seeing what exactly is shown to you and do not make your own choices, then I feel you continue to fall deeper into this problem, and it just keeps getting deeper. Anyway, now we're going to read about Kader Khan. Kader Khan, जब मैं छोटा था तो मेरे लिए he was just a comedian. गोविंदा की मूवी में एक comedian होगा जो उसका पापा होगा, शायद वो कादर खान होएगा. But then I read कि he was also a dialogue writer. And I saw some of his interviews where he was speaking very passionately about where he grew up, what he thinks of different things, and like his talent. So let's just read this article. Yeah. This actor writer, raised in Kamatipura, once set conditions before working with Dilip Kumar, disrupted Bollywood with his witty dialogues. All right. Every year, millions of dreamers flock to Mumbai hoping to become stars. They chase fame, that one opportunity that could change their lives forever. But sometimes destiny works the other way. Sometimes stardom chases you. One such extraordinary story is that of a veteran actor and writer Kader Khan, a man whose journey from poverty to cinematic greatness remains one of Bollywood's most inspiring tales. Known for his unmatched versatility and sharp wit, Kader Khan was both a prolific writer and a powerhouse performer. With his passing, an era of Indian cinema ended, one defined by dialogues, depth, and a sense of humor that no one has since replicated. One of his most memorable lines, बचपन से सर पर अल्लाह का हाथ और अल्लाह रखा है अपने साथ, seemed prophetic of his own life. From Kabul to Kamatipura. So it's interesting, no? Kader Khan is in Afghanistan. Like he was born in Afghanistan, and he became like a huge part of like the Indian pop culture, Indian social media, sorry, Indian cinema, right? And in social media also, he's gaining currency among new audience, young audience by he's still relevant. His interview clips still go viral. Yeah, you were saying I haven't watched his interviews, but I've listened to his videos where he's discussing Ghalib. Yes, God bless his soul. God bless his soul. Let's read about him. Born in Kabul, Afghanistan, Kader Khan was the fourth son in his family and the only one to survive beyond the age of 8. My mother believed the air of Afghanistan wasn't good for her children after she lost my three brothers, Kader recalled in an old interview on Dil Ne Phir Yaad Kiya with Samay TV. His mother decided to move to India when she was is barely a year old. The family settled in Mumbai's Kamatipur. अब देखो अफगानिस्तान से कादर खान की माँ आती है मुंबई के कमाटीपुरा. Now you know Kamatipura area is the red light area of Mumbai, right? And there's lots of crime, like that the article says also. Gangubai Kathiawadi was set in Kamatipura, so that is where Alia Bhatt's character Gangubai is got from Gujarat, and then she works there as a sex worker, right? Anyway, the family settles in Mumbai's Kamatipura, one of the city's poorest and most crime ridden slums. It was the worst place, he recalled, adding, there was prostitution, crime, murder, and filth everywhere. Right? This is where he came from. This is where Kader Khan came from. After his parents divorced, his mother was forced into another marriage with a man who did not earn a penny. This pushed young Kader Khan to consider dropping out of school to take up a factory job. My friends convinced me to quit studies, but my mother stopped me. She told me if I really wanted to help, I had to study. From that day, I never stopped studying. Imagine your husband has left you. This is not even 2025. This is like, I don't know, 60s, 50s, 40s, and there is divorce is happening. Mother is forced into another marriage with a man who is not earning. And this young boy, young Kader Khan, is considering dropping out of school. कि भाई मैं पढ़ाई वढ़ाई छोड़ता हूँ, एक जॉब करता हूँ, थोड़े पैसे आएंगे घर पे. And friends also convinced him कि भाई पढ़ाई वढ़ाई छोड़ दे. But who stopped him? The person who was suffering the most. But my mother stopped me. She told me if I really wanted to help, I had to study. And what kind of an impact does this leave on a young boy who has lost his father, has a foster father who does not earn, like, and mom telling why you have to study, and this line like sort of sums it up, right? From that day, I never stopped studying. So it's very important, like these become pivotal moments in the lives of many people, like, and this could be your mother, this could be your teacher, this could be your colleague in your office, this could be anybody who shows belief in you, who shows trust in you. His mother's insistence paid off. Kader not only completed his education, but went on to teach at the very college he graduated from. I taught applied mathematics and mechanics, ironically, the two subjects I struggled with the most as a student, he quipped. Within a month, his engaging teaching style earned him the Best Teacher in Maharashtra award. This boy who came from Afghanistan, lived in Kamatipura, studied in so much struggle, taught applied mathematics and mechanics, and won the best teacher in Maharashtra award within a month. Insane. Now, what happened? How did he get to acting? The accidental actor. Kader Khan's first brush with acting came when he was just 8 years old. I used to visit a crematorium daily while my mother thought I was going to read namaz. Okay, he was 8 years old. He was visiting a crematorium. घर पे बोल रहा हूँ नमाज पढ़ने जा रहा हूँ. There, I would just talk to myself. Wow. He would just talk to myself. One day, an actor named Ashraf Khan noticed me. He was working on a play called Vamak Azra and needed a child actor for the role of a prince. Somebody noticed him in a crematorium. Opportunity can come anywhere, or at least it used to come anywhere. I don't know now. I don't know where it comes now. Impressed by Kader's vocabulary and expression, Ashraf cast him on the spot. Everybody loved my performance. They gave me 100 rupees and blessed me, saying this would one day turn into lakhs. 100 rupees मिले एक 8 साल के छोटे बच्चे को जो कब्रिस्तान में जाके अपने आप से बातें कर रहा था. वहां पे जाके उसने उसको वो तब वहीं से वो चाइल्ड एक्टर बन गया. This is insane. This is so nice. Years later in college, his classmates pushed him into the dramatics club. They made me audition, and when I read the lines, they were shocked. They gave me a role right away, and soon I was helping them fix their scripts too. That's how his journey into theatre began. He continued to write scripts even when he joined in as a teacher. Now, what happened? The call from Dilip Kumar. Now, Dilip Kumar was the Shah Rukh Khan of his generation, right? Big, huge actor. Now, what happened? His talent eventually caught the attention of none other than Dilip Kumar. I was teaching when the office boy came to tell me there was a phone call. When I picked up, the voice said, "This is Yusuf Khan." Yusuf Khan is Dilip Kumar's real name. "This is Yusuf Khan." I asked, "Which Yusuf?" He replied, "People in the industry call me Dilip Kumar." I started trembling. मैं कांपने लग गया. Dilip Kumar told me he wanted to see his play. Told him he wanted to see his play. I said two conditions. He must come before time and he must watch the entire play. He agreed. These were the conditions that he set. When the play ended, his eyes were red. He was weeping. He told me he loved my performance. And this also tells you so much about the stars of that time. Now, imagine like Shah Rukh Khan taking time out and going to see a play somewhere. It doesn't happen anymore. Like these big, huge actors, Hrithik Roshan taking time out and supporting a young actor doing something fantastic somewhere, in the country, until unless उनका कोई nepotism या dynasty का part नहीं है तो. पर पहले दिलीप कुमार ऐसे ही पहुंच गया और वो उसने कंडीशंस रखी और कंडीशंस एक्सेप्ट हुई. टैलेंट ऐसे ही तो आता है, when the conditions are such. That meeting changed everything. Dilip Kumar offered him roles in Sagina and Bairag, the latter featuring the superstar in triple roles with Kader Khan as police officer. And he's arrived now. He's arrived. Like the days of poverty are gone. When his writing started to pay. Even before his acting career took off, Kader Khan had begun making his mark as a dialogue writer. Acclaimed writer Rajinder Singh Bedi once approached him to write dialogues for a film directed by his son Narendra Bedi, the cult hit Jawani Diwani. Wow, okay, I think Jawani Diwani के songs भी बहुत बहुत famous हैं. तो उसने बोला इस मूवी के लिए dialogues लिखो. While he was given a month's deadline, Kader wrote the entire script in just 5 hours. उसको बोला था 1 घंटे में 1 महीने लेके आप script लिखना. Kader wrote the entire script in just 5 hours. When I went back the same day, Bedi Sahib thought I hadn't understood the narration and had come again to clarify. He recalled, adding, but when I said I had already written it, he couldn't believe it. When I read the dialogues out loud, he was amazed. And from then on, he marketed me across the country. So now, wow. Rajinder Singh Bedi just came to him and gave him a script, told him to write dialogues for it, gave him 1 month's time. Kader wrote the whole thing in 5 hours, came back, and then Rajinder Bedi became his marketer. कि भाई ये लड़का अच्छा है, इसको आगे काम दो, ये लड़का अच्छा है, इसको आगे काम दो. This is like this is how actually things happen, in the industry. You just given a chance, you just do well, somebody spots you, and then they take you ahead if you have talent. For that film, he was paid 1,500 rupees, a modest beginning for someone who would go on to write for hundreds of blockbusters, right? The Manmohan Desai breakthrough. Manmohan Desai, as we know, is one of the greatest directors. He made a lot of movies. His next big moment came when filmmaker Manmohan Desai approached him for Roti, 1974. He narrated the story and overnight I wrote the entire script. अगेन कादर खान का एक क्वालिटी ये था कि वो बहुत जल्दी काम करता था. उसको कोई भी स्टोरी सुनाएगा वो ओवरनाइट उसका डायलॉग लेके उसको दे देगा. He narrated the story and overnight I wrote the entire script. When he heard it, he went crazy. He said, "तू कमाल है यार, तू मुझे जूते से मार." Kader recalled. That's what Manmohan Desai said to Kader Khan, like big huge director, right? Who just has written something, and this guy wrote an overnight, एक रात में उसने script लिख दी. It's insane. आई थिंक इतनी वर्सेटैलिटी आती भी तुम्हारे एक्सपीरियंस से है. वो इंसान ही इतने सारे एक्सपीरियंसेस से आ रहा है, वो कितना कुछ लिख सकता है. उसने गरीबी देखी है, उसने अपने घर से निकलना देखा है, उसने अपने पापा का बिछड़ना देखा है, उसने अपनी मम्मी की स्ट्रगल देखी है, उसने फॉस्टर फादर देखा है, उसने पढ़ाई की है, उसने यंगस्टर्स देखे हैं, उसने कॉलेज प्लेस किए हैं. देयर इज सो मच गोइंग ऑन इन दैट हेड ऑफ हिज that it's very quick for him to sort of write things. That is insane. uh, Life is not lifing anymore. Yeah, tell me about it. Like sometimes I feel like, is this like an indication of like becoming old, like when you yearn for like the times gone by, or like is it really not lifing anymore? Like it's not lifing for like a lot of like 19, 20 years old, 20-year olds as well, because shit does sound like not very good at the moment, right? Yeah. When Manmohan, all right, we read this. हाँ, अब when Manmohan asked him to quote his fee, Kader nervously said 25,000 rupees 2,500. He looked disappointed and immediately said, "Here is 1,21,000 rupees." I was shocked. Now this is also very important. अगर वहां पे मनमोहन देसाई के पास अगर if मनमोहन देसाई was like कि ठीक है, उस कादर खान को नहीं पता उसकी स्क्रिप्ट की वैल्यू क्या है, तो कादर खान ने 25,000 रुपए मांगे. चाहता तो मनमोहन सिंह ठीक बोल देता उसको, ले 30,000 रुपए, एंड वो स्क्रिप्ट ले लेता उससे, उसको पता है ये स्क्रिप्ट की वैल्यू क्या है. और उसने उसने तो उसको डिसअपॉइंटेड तरीके से देखा और उसको बोला, here is 1,21,000 rupees, that is the value of your script. And I think तभी कादर खान को भी वैल्यू समझ में आई होगी अपनी खुद की, right? And again, this was a chance that was taken by Manmohan Desai. uh, just insane. And just like that, the prophecy of that generous stranger who once gave him rupees 100 came true. His talent had finally begun to earn him lakh of rupees. The legacy. Wonderful. What a story. Over the decades, Kader Khan became synonymous with sharp humor, heartfelt emotions, and memorable one liners. Whether as a villain, comedian, or mentor, he brought depth to every role he played. Apart from acting, he was the writer of films Jawani Diwani, Benam, Roti, Mahachor, Amar Akbar Anthony, the classic Dharamveer, Insane, Parvarish, Mukaddar Ka Sikandar, wow, and Mr. Natwarlal, Amitabh Bachchan's, among several others. He wrote these big films. We only know him as a comedian besides Govinda, but man wrote all of these things, yeah, and like hundreds of blockbusters. Imagine writing hundreds of successful films, not one, not two, hundreds of them. Kader Khan passed away at the age of 81 after battling supranuclear palsy, a degenerative neurological disease. Yet his voice, his words, and his wisdom continue to echo through generations of cinema lovers. A reminder that true stars don't chase fame, they simply live their destiny. They simply live their destiny. They just keep doing their work. They just, this is what I know how to do. This is what I'll continue doing. If on the way I get lucky, I get lucky. If I don't, I don't. As Kader said, मैं कभी सक्सेस के पीछे नहीं भागा, मुझे गरीबों के धक्के ने आगे किया. Very, very, very an amazing read. I think that was quite lovely. That was quite something. Absolutely amazing. Got to know a lot about this man and his inspirational story. All right, we have been live for now 54 minutes now. Do we have it in us to do one more? Should we Okay. All right, then, guys. In the next live, which is tomorrow, we'll again meet at 3 p.m., hopefully. And we will read another three amazing articles and we will learn one thing or the other out of it. If you are enjoying these lives, if you're not watching them live, you're, oh, यहाँ तक तो तुम पहुंचोगे ही नहीं. पर अगर तुम पहुंच गए यहाँ तक, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल थैंक यू एंड राइट अ मैसेज कि तुम यहाँ तक पहुंचे थे. ठीक है. और yeah, if you want me to discuss something specific, something interesting that is important to you, that you think, Varun, let's discuss that, please leave it in the comments and we can take that up as well. And thank you so much for joining. And I hope a lot of more people see this live after I put it up. Thank you. Bye bye.